Um, as Dr. Pato mentioned, my name is Dr. Gabriel De Freitas. Good afternoon. I will be presenting the paper with the title of Quantitative Study on Students' Perception of Online versus Face-to-Face Education. I'm representing Campbellsville University, which is located in Campbellsville, Kentucky, in the United States. So just to talk about my agenda and today and my objective, I will be covering the introduction, the literature review. Then we're going to jump into the statistics, the methods, study population measures, statistical analysis, results, and conclusion. For this part, in the introduction for this article, we have to discuss the background of the problem of this study. While participating in courses online is prevalent in non-profit higher education institutions, relatively little research has explored the way students' performance in non-profit institutions is influenced by participating in an online course versus face-to-face course. Based on a Sloan survey of over 2,800 colleges and universities offering online instruction in the fall semester of 2012, 7.1 million students were participating in at least one higher education online course in the United States. Throughout the last 10 years, the annual growth trend represents an estimate of 500,052 students who participate in online learning per year. Because K-12 and higher education organizations have traditionally been grounded in conventional classroom learning, further research evaluating online and traditional face-to-face offerings has been given considerably importance in today's education system. The majority of work examining face-to-face and online delivery modes during the past decade has concentrated on comparisons with students at the K-12 or undergraduate at earlier stages, like freshman or sophomore students. This study in particular explore online versus face-to-face students' performance on master students in the nonprofit section. As if you don't know, Campbellsville University is a nonprofit school, so I decided to go into the nonprofit route for this study. Also, we know that because of the coronavirus and the pandemic that happened in 2019, the online platform has proven to be an effective education delivery tool. But COVID-19 has challenged the education for learners of all ages. The move to online education during COVID-19 resulted in negative educational changes and health implications for children and young adults enrolled in elementary, middle, high, college, and professional institutions. Statement of the problem for my study is that the specific problem is more in-depth information is needed regarding the way students' performance in non-profit institutions is influenced by participating in an online course versus face-to-face course, and across the four main categories for evaluating educational learning environments: student effectiveness, student performance, student engagement, and quality and knowledge of courses. For the study purpose, the purpose of this quantitative study was to compare the way student performance in non-profit institutions is influenced by participating in an online course versus face-to-face course. Today, the online course format is common as a delivery option for universities. The intent of the study was to explore whether a relationship exists between online versus face-to-face students' performance in nonprofit universities. A little bit about the literature review. It was very extensive, but I will keep it short. I evaluated online education, of course, nonprofit universities, the effects of online education in higher education, students' performance and leadership, online education and leadership, face-to-face education, the effects of face-to-face education, also face-to-face education and online education together, and the education and the impact of COVID-19 in education. For online education, for a wide variety of non-traditional students, particularly those who choose to continue working full-time or raise families, online degrees and courses have become conventional alternative over the past decade. While there are slight variations, the most significant distinction between online and traditional learning is the fact that online study frees the student from the usual trappings of on-campus degree programs like commuting to school, preparing their day for courses, and being physically present during each cycle of the coursework. Further, with the COVID-19 crisis, the online platform has proven to be an effective education delivery tool. In nonprofit universities, nearly 3.4 million full-time undergraduate students studied in nonprofit private colleges during the 2017 and 2018 academic year, which is about 30% of all students in the US attending a four-year institution. Sorry. Based on the literature review that I did for this study, I have the research question. So the main research question is there a relationship between online and face-to-face student performance in a nonprofit university? My alternative hypothesis is that there is a relationship between online and a face-to-face student performance in nonprofit universities. The null hypothesis is there is not a relationship between online and face-to-face performance in nonprofit universities. For the methods and the sampling method, the minimum sample size needed was 107 students. The projected size was determined with a G power, which is shown in the figure in this slide. It provides a suggested sample size based on the linear regression model. For the test family, F-tests were chosen, and for the statistical analysis, ANOVA, which is the global effects for the three groups, was used. A median effect size of 0.15 was used to determine the sample size, and the G power suggested 107 participants. The actual sample size used for this study was 314 participants. This study employed a purposive sampling technique. Purposive sampling approaches are employed when the participants have chosen, possess desired knowledge and or characteristics that are going to be studied. For this study, students at nonprofit institutions who were enrolled in a master's degree had been selected to participate as opposed to the other for-profit universities in the country. Students were recruited to participate in the survey on a voluntary basis. The survey was administered online by using the system of SurveyMonkey, which provides a sophisticated survey software platform. Also, the researcher randomly selected a good portion of students who were enrolled in a master's degree, again, in nonprofit institutions. Okay, so for data collection, the online and face-to-face education evaluation tool was the primary instrument used to collect the data for these studies. Participants were asked to provide demographic data that verifies their gender, age, region, device type they use to complete the survey, and household income as a result of their learning environment of online learning and face-to-face education. The responses of the online and face-to-face education evaluation tool mark on the 5-point scale how they feel overall about online and face-to-face education, how effective both learning environments have been to them, how improved the performance has been in both learning environments, how engaging both learning environments have been to them, and the quality and knowledge obtained from both learning environments. Okay. The data was stored in an encrypted and password protected file on a personal computer, ensuring confidentiality for the students. Okay, analysis of data. So a one-way multivariate ANOVA were computed with scores on the research developed instrument. That was
you have 3 minutes.
Right. The independent variables included 2 covariates, gender and age, household income, and the device type used. As mentioned before, there were 314 participants in the studies. Frequencies were computed for the 2 covariates, gender and age, household and device. We can see here the results. 51% of participants were female and 40.9% were male. The ranges of age were between 18 to over 16 years of age. For the results and the discussion of findings, ANOVA was used to examine the association between age as an independent variable and the online and face-to-face education evaluation tool as a dependable variable. The interaction between the evaluation tool scores and the age was significant. And as we can see here, I was able to reject the null hypothesis that was provided previously. Therefore, a positive relationship or interaction was found. In other words, there is a statistically significant difference in the relationship between online and face-to-face student performance in nonprofit universities. So some recommendations for the future. Future research should build into the limitations of this study and add a qualitative component to enrich the study's findings, broaden the population internationally instead of just doing it in the United States, maybe doing it in other countries. Future research could be geared specifically towards professors or a combination of both students and professors. And then just to conclude, it is important to know that this study was the first in which the researcher provided research data on the impact of full scale of online and face-to-face classes for nonprofit institutions. The study was the first to examine the consequences of participating in online and face-to-face classes at nonprofit universities. Most importantly, the way online and face-to-face classes can affect students' performance. I mentioned that interactions between the tools and the scores in age and gender, they were significant. I went too fast. All right. The result for this research decreases the knowledge gap that exists in comparing the students' performance of online courses versus face-to-face courses, especially in the nonprofit education sector. So these are some of the selected references that I use the most for this study, also for the literature review. I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity today and for your time. And again, I think this is my second time presenting in this conference. And thank you, everybody. I'm open up for questions right now.